that's more or less it for the Brigadier, at least for a good long while. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Today you get sweaty thoughts with a bonus edition of landscapers outside, so if you hear noise, that's what that is. I'm sorry, not much I can do about it. So Terror of the Zygons marks the end of the Brigadier on classic Doctor Who, with one exception. He does show up again in Modern Undead during the Fifth Doctor era as a retired Brigadier. But as far as the Brigadier leading unit, this is it. At this point, the series goes off in its completely new direction. Now, the interesting thing about Terror of the Zygons is that it was originally supposed to be the last episode of the previous series, and that would have made sense narratively. That would have made Series 12 map out the entirety of Harry Sullivan's journey with the TARDIS. He comes in Robot, meets the Doctor, goes into the TARDIS at the end of that story, travels through a full series of adventures, and then here in Terror of the Zygons, they arrive back in modern-day Earth, and Harry declines to re-enter the TARDIS at the end of it. That is one nice buttoned-up string of stories. That's one of the reasons I love Series 12 so much. Be that as it may, although it was filmed as the end of that series, it was held back and used to open the following season, primarily because they wanted to shift when Doctor Who started in the year. Traditionally, it had always started at the end of December, beginning of January, and they wanted to push it back to starting in September. So they held back that one episode so they had one in the can while they were producing the next season's stories. Now, one interesting thing to note about Harry Sullivan's time on the TARDIS, this is only the second time that a companion has come on board the TARDIS after another companion started and left before that previous companion, if that made any sense. In other words, back in the Second Doctor day, when Victoria Waterfield joined the TARDIS crew, Jamie was already there. And then Victoria left and Jamie remained. Now, there are a couple of other debatable instances of that if you count Katarina or Sarah Kingdom, but both of them died and both of them were only there very briefly, so it's not quite the same thing. So Harry Sullivan is fairly unique in the history of TARDIS companions. Last thing I wanted to say is my mother loved this story because it was set in and around Loch Ness, and she had a lifelong love of the Scottish Highlands and all things Scotland. And as I've mentioned before, she just recently passed away, and one thing that gives me solace is that a few years back, when her health began failing, I had a conversation with her, and I pointed out to her that if she was ever going to visit Scotland, that this was the time. And because I work with a travel consortium, I was able to make some arrangements and get her a 2-week tour of Scotland and the Highlands on a bus tour, totally guided end to end. So she didn't have to plan anything. She was able to just fly to England, get off the plane, meet someone at the airport, and then follow the bus tour and spend 2 amazing weeks in Scotland. And she had such a great time, took so many great pictures, and in particular, she loved visiting Inverness and the Loch Ness and going on a boat out onto the loch and going Bessie hunting. Of course, she didn't see the monster, but what can you do? But she had such a great time, and I take a great deal of solace that that was something I was able to do for her before her health really started going downhill. And this story absolutely reminds me of that, with all of the settings in and around the loch and Inverness and that whole area. So, happy memories all around. So that wraps it up today. Tomorrow I begin Planet of Evil, a story about which I remember absolutely nothing. So, it'll be an adventure. I hope you'll join me.